I went almost 40 years thinking that I would have to have a stranger pee on me just to make my jellyfish sting better, and that is not what I would need to make it better. But I never once took 30 seconds to research it. Do you want someone to pee on you for nothing?
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, everybody. It's time for more Law Light, brought to you by the personal injury lawyers at Foreman, Watson, Holtree, FWHlegal.com. We are coming to you. It's actually hard to believe. Here right before the last weekend of March 2022, which means our year is already 25% over, PJ.
That's madness.
It's crazy. March madness. Hey, look at you.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yeah, right on top of things. But anyway, time for more Law Light. And we are at the high-rise white brick edifice at 530 Frederica Street. In Owensboro, Kentucky, in the library studio. You doing okay?
Yeah, I've been having some personal crisis lately, but crises. But you know, last night when I was leaving work, I ended up talking to Shannon, and she gave me a lot of good advice. And then
Shannon here,
yeah.
Right.
And then last night after that, I met with Kenny. And we ended up hanging out and talking for about 3.5 hours. And it is frightening how similar we are, like in our way of thinking.
There you go.
But he ended up giving me probably, because you know how it is, like when you're going through something and it's very obvious that you're going through something.
Right.
Some people openly step up and say, hey, what's wrong? I want to help. Other people will just wait and let you come to them. And if you don't, that's fine. He was somebody I went to because I felt like I needed kind of an objective opinion about everything that's going on, because he doesn't really know me. I've only met him once.
Right.
And he ended up giving me some of the best advice I've gotten yet. And I feel a lot better today. Yeah, so I'm doing all right. Doing okay today. Yeah. I haven't had my coffee yet.
Did you tell him that we refer to him as Kenny?
He listens to the podcast now. The situation going on is not faith-based. But that was the other thing. It was like, he is a Baptist minister, right? Or a pastor. So it's like, those are the same thing, right? Technically?
Sure. Yeah.
Preacher,
minister,
right.
pastor.
It's all kind of the same, at least under the same umbrella, I guess. Anyway, so I thought it would be interesting too, because I knew he would kind of come from that perspective as well. And faith and religion did kind of play into it, not as much as I thought it was going to. He gave more like, here's what I think, here's where I think you're right, here's what I think you can work on, and here's the path I think you should take. He's like, this is the best advice I can give you. And it was extremely helpful. So it actually worked out better than what I thought it would. You know, I didn't know which direction things were going to go. So because he didn't really know me very well, but I felt like I needed some kind of objective opinion about things that are going on. And it was extremely helpful.
Good. I'm glad you've talked to Kenny.
So the whole point of saying that is he listens to the podcast now because he kept referencing different episodes since the Kenny episode, and he said that he'll never let that go, that I said his name like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go talk to Kenny. How did you Kenny?
I was like, yeah, I'm going to talk to Kenny. It was something along those lines. I really did not mean to say his name like that, but now it's stuck.
That's right. It'll never be Kenny.
Yeah, it's like, it's always gonna be Kenny.
That's what it was. That's how it was right there.
Yeah.
We need to get everybody caught up on your wonderful bracket selections.
Yeah. Oh, John is chomping at the bit to know how things are going.
Is he?
Yeah. He was confused, though, because he thought that if my bracket sucked really bad, that we were just going to start over and redo it. And I was like, no, I think it's just we're going to keep going and do continuous updates until it's no longer valid.
You're stuck. You're stuck.
Oh, I am.
Well, as for those that may not have listened to the last episode, although most people that are listening,
which is a
today have
ridiculous statement to even make.
Right. I mean, because probably everybody I know listened to the last episode.
Yeah.
We had PJ go through, PJ who knows 0.00001% about sports, like in general. And then you add to that, it's basketball, it's college basketball. We had him go through the bracket for March Madness for the 2022 NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship.
Whatever that means.
Here is what's amazing. I mean, PJ, you were picking schools like maybe based on geography. You picked some based upon the fact that their name came up in a movie. You picked some of them based upon the fact that they were Christian.
Right.
And so
they reminded me of food.
Food, that's right. You had none that you picked based on what you any reason that anybody else would pick.
Right. What you're saying is there was not one educated guess.
You're right. That's exactly what I'm saying. So, here's what's amazing. So the very first round, there's 64 teams.
Right.
And so that means the first round, there's 32 games, okay? And on one side of the bracket, which would be 16 games, on one side of the bracket, the left side of the bracket, you only missed 3 of 16.
Wow.
Yeah, you got 13 games right and 3 wrong. You missed because you went with Montana over Texas Tech. You missed because you went with Akron over UCLA. And you missed because you went with Kentucky over St. Peter's.
Right. And here's the funny thing, and I can remember this vividly. When that one came up, I thought, go with St. Peter's because I'm an infant and I wanted to laugh at the fact that it had Peter in the title. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to give our Kentucky fans, somebody is inevitably going to give me flack if I don't do something Kentucky. So I didn't go with St. Peter because I was like, well, I'll do UK just because that's what people would. And I didn't go with my gut. And when I found that out, I was like, see, you got to go with your gut.
Well, let me ask you this. Bonus points for you if you know the mascot of St. Peter's. You're looking at me like I'm going to give some kind of hint.
I went blank because I was trying to think of something funny, but the 2 or 3 things I thought of are too inappropriate.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
When you were talking about streaming 13 Sleighs, first streaming service that you were thinking about using was?
Their mascot is Netflix?
No. You talked about one before that.
What, Amazon?
No.
Their mascot's an Amazon woman?
Peacock.
Oh, I think you said that on the last podcast.
They are the Peacocks. Didn't you talk about streaming 13 Sleighs on Peacock?
Oh, yeah, that was a long while back.
Right,
yeah.
right.
But nothing has come of that.
Right. Okay, Peacock.
The
like
St.
NBC.
Peters.
Wait,
is it Peters or Peter?
St. Peter's.
The St. Peter's Peters?
The St. Peter's. The St. Peter's.
It should have been that.
The St. Peter's Peacocks. That's the name of them. So the Wildcats got beat by a bunch of peacocks.
Oh, I know. My stepdad, Randy, was furious. When I went over to his house, him and my mom's house, they were in the middle of the game. That's how I knew that they were beating UK. That's how I found out. But I went in, and I mean, he's like, he's like, nobody has heard of this team. Nobody knows who these guys are. How does somebody you don't even know who they are, how do they come in and just beat UK? Like, how does UK do that? How do they let these strangers come in and take this from them? And I'm just like, man, talk about passion.
You're thinking I should have picked the Peters.
I should have went with Peters.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. Well, as good as your left side of the bracket did, your right side of the bracket did like horrible. Right. Yeah. So I'm just going to show you everywhere there's dark black. I started with blue, but then it went to black, is where you've missed a game. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Out of the 16.
My final 3 are devastating.
Out of the 16 on the right side, okay, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right. So you got 6 right and missed 10.
6 out of 16 ain't bad.
6 plus 13, because you got 13 on the other side. 6 plus 13 is 19.
Okay.
So out of the first 32 games, you got 19 right and only 13 wrong. So you were pretty good in the first round. The problem here, PJ, is that some of the teams that you missed on the right side, you had taken them all the way to the championship. But you did pick, if you remember, that you went with the Christians. You went with the Texas Christian University.
Oh, yeah.
And they did win their first game. I sent you a text.
Oh, you texted me, and I was like, what?
Yeah, they won, right?
Well, they're fans of the podcast, and they didn't want to let us down.
That's right. But then after that, they got beat. They got beat by Arizona in a very controversial game.
Those idiots.
They got those Christians. The Texas Christian University got beat by Arizona in a very controversial game. And Arizona went on out there. And the thing is that you had TCU advancing not only to the Final Four, not only to the championship game, you had TCU winning it all. So pretty much your bracket went to the toilet at that point.
I can say without certainty, based off of your opinion from last time and now, that I'm literally the only person in this country that took them to the end.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, there may have been a TCU fan that went with their heart instead of their mind.
Right.
Now, so that means that now you're down to 32 teams, okay? And then so there was another round of games played last weekend that takes it to the Sweet 16. I'm sorry to be boring you here.
Mm-hmm. Do I look bored?
Yeah, you went.
No, I forgot to breathe.
Okay. All right. Then there's that. So you have 32 teams, and that means there's 16 games, all right? And in these 16 games, on the left side of the bracket, out of which would be 8 teams, you got 2 right.
Okay.
2. You got Arkansas and Duke. On the right side of the bracket, of the 8 teams over there, you got 1 right. You have Miami going, okay?
And Benito Amiami.
That's right. That's exactly why you picked it. Now,
thank you, Will Smith.
That means out of 16 games, my brother, you got 3 right. So you were 3-13. So your winning went, Now here is what you have left. You have Arkansas and Duke left on the left side, and you have Miami left on the right side. The problem is that you don't have Arkansas advancing, but you do have Duke. Your lone survivor here is Duke, because you took Duke all the way to the Final Four. You have Miami losing this next game. That's as far as you have Miami, because you may recall, LSU going quite a ways, and they got knocked out in the first round. So,
thanks, LSU.
So here's where we're at. You have you set out kind of to go the Christian route.
Mm-hmm.
You forgot to pick St. Peter's while you were being a Christian, which would have been an obvious pick. But the Christian university let you down. However, your Blue Devils, the devil side,
right,
has prevailed. It's kind of like what's going on in society right now. That's an update on your bracket. Now, we'll continue to follow it to see if you get Duke. I'll bring an update. And the thing is, the update's going to be shorter and shorter because we're going to have fewer teams. But for your first crack at it, the one thing to be happy about is that your left side of your bracket, you went 3 and you got 13 right and 3 wrong.
All right.
It's pretty good.
So, is it safe to say, though, that had I put in...
Now, that's the guy that's invading Ukraine.
Right. Had I put $5 in, I would be out that $5.
Yeah,
right now.
I'm really glad I didn't spot you 5.
I'm glad you... Well, I would have paid the $5.
I know, but still, it would have been a loser bracket.
I'm good for at least 5. Now you're pushing it when you hit about 8.
Okay. Well, you saved money, but we've there you go.
I only lost time.
Now I want to get to something real exciting.
Okay.
I mean, real exciting. We got your car.
Oh yeah, and it looks really good.
Right. Here's the deal. PJ has a new car. It's a 2022. It was a white car.
Well, it still is.
It's white. It's a white car, but it's got a lot of other colors on it now.
It's almost like a mid-sized SUV.
Yeah, it's like a crossover, a big crossover. Right. This thing's nice, but what's cool is we took it to a place here in town called DMC, like Run
Graphics.
Run DMC Graphics, right? And it's Christmas time in Hollis, Queens. Mama's cooking chicken and collard greens, rice and stuffing, macaroni and cheese. Santa putting gifts under Christmas trees. That's Run DMC Christmas. Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh,
car.
We took it to Run DMC Graphics, and they created a design.
Kathy was just...
I've never seen Kathy run.
Yeah.
I hope she ends up okay down there.
Yeah.
I hope she has brakes.
She didn't fall down in the few seconds that we saw her run past the windows.
So anyhow, this car, we kind of came up with the idea because you go out to the scenes of wrecks to use video, to use photograph. You look for surveillance cameras. You I'll kind of give you the direction of what I need. Sometimes you take the drone out, sometimes you're making phone calls to people to see if. So we came up with the idea that the car would be called like a crash scene investigation car.
Right, CSI.
CSI, right. It's kind of got the warning checkerboard of the white, of the yellow and black on it. And it's got a magnifying glass, like for inspection, like the investigator.
Yeah.
And then of course it's got the Foreman Watson Holtree logo and phone number and website all over it. And it really turned out.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
It does.
And inside the magnifying glass is a aerial view of 2 wrecked cars with people kind of standing around. Someone's injured. Someone's, I think there's like a police officer there.
Right.
So it's pretty cool.
And the reason we did that is, number one, it's a moving billboard, but number two is to kind of send the message that we're serious about what we talk about all the time, and that is when we are hired on a case. We document that scene very well. What you may not even know is a lot of times, like within 24 to 48 hours after I get hired on a case, I'll go out and look around myself, and then I'll kind of come back and say, yeah, this is one I need PJ on. PJ, you need to go do this. I kind of get an idea of what the place looks like. One that I really spent a lot of time at recently was the one that I sent you to out 60, where the train tracks run parallel to the road and the stop sign sits back. And
I got a little artsy fartsy with that drone footage. I don't know if you watched it.
I haven't seen the.
I got some really cool shots.
Yeah, I bet you did, with the railroad and everything.
Yeah, I drove down. I got it at like car level and went all the way down the road up to the train track. So you're from the view of the car,
right?
Stuff like that.
Good.
Yeah, it looks there's some really good footage
that case is an interesting case because the truck that pulled out into traffic and our client tried to avoid. They had dash cam on that vehicle, but they won't give it to us. So we're filing a lawsuit in that case to make them to give us that dash cam.
Right.
Because here's the deal. If the guy didn't pull out and he stayed there at the stop sign until traffic was clear, they would give us that dash cam.
Right. That's what I was going to say. If there's nothing to hide, there'd be no problem to give that
footage.
footage.
He's going out across traffic and then almost causes this wreck. I think that's going to be revealed. Now, here's the thing. We had sent them a letter saying, keep it. Don't get rid of it. And then they were like, well, we're not going to give it to you. And I was like, okay, I want to file a lawsuit. But getting back to, why we send you to places like that is because, number one, evidence changes. The road evidence, if a wreck happens in December, there's no green on bushes and trees, right? So your vision is a lot better sometimes. But if you wait and go out and take pictures in the spring or in the summer, it looks totally different.
Right.
Another thing is sunlight. Okay. There's been a couple times where I've said, hey, I want you to go out there at this time of day to get a feel for what the sun is like out there. Because, you have somebody claiming, well, the sun was in my eyes, or the sun was in my mirror, or, you never know.
Right.
So there is a reason that we go out and document the scene. The other thing we're looking for is road signs. Also, when you go out there and walk around, sometimes you find where there's a camera, right? And boy, I guess it's probably now it's more than we could count on 2 hands. You have found crash footage from an area of business or a home. I was thinking of one the other day because I was out there. Remember when you got the film from out in Deer Valley of that wreck where it was just on the corner of a house and it was at nighttime and you could see the lights light up on the back of the car? Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
It was off a house, By sending you out to the scene. Now, I do want to clarify, you're not a certified traffic reconstruction, collision reconstructionist. But you
yet.
You do. That's right. Now that you drive the car, you're a lot further.
I have to get a badge.
Closer. We do perform the task of crash scene investigation ourselves, and that's a big part of that's you. And so, what we put on that car is accurate. We really do that. So the car serves several purposes. Number one, you get to go to the scenes of wrecks and do your thing, and now it makes it a little more official when you're there doing it, right?
Right.
But the second thing is that it's good advertisement. It's a moving billboard, and it gives people, an idea that we're here and we're relevant.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is that it stands out. And it doesn't just like stand out like a sore thumb. It stands out in a cool way. It looks like an official vehicle. Well, I mean, it is an official vehicle,
right.
but the design looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, I've had, several people point out like, what is this? Like, it's still the funniest reaction I've gotten from Connor's teachers when I pulled up and I was in line to pick him up, and they're looking at the side and they kind of look at me and they go, what do you do for a living? Like, they had no idea. So I got to kind of sit there and explain what I do. That's already happened probably 3 or 4 times.
Now, what do you say when they ask you to explain what you do for a living? Like, how do you communicate that to a stranger?
I say I work for Foreman Watson Holtry. I say it's exactly what you see on the side. I said I go out, I investigate wreck sites, I look for surveillance footage, I get footage myself, and then I said also aside from that, my main position is I do video settlement work for the firm, and that always seems to
video? Yeah.
Right, that always spurs into another conversation, which is, you do video work for a law firm?
Mm-hmm.
What is that exactly? And then of course I get to talk about it, and everybody really seems like fascinated by the fact that a law firm has its own in-house video production department. I will have been here for 7 years in August,
right? And
still nobody else is doing this. We're still the forefront.
There is a reason it's an investment in a non-traditional way. Okay, law firms spend their money on research software so they can research cases. We have that. We use Westlaw Edge, and it's a hefty amount, right? So lawyers are used to spending money on their research or their legal research. They're used to spending money on their people, their staff. You have to have good equipment, laptops, good computers, tablets, things like that. We spend money on experts in cases to get our experts. And so there's a lot of things that law firms traditionally spend money on. The problem with a lot of law firms is they're stuck in tradition. They have not progressed and said, okay, how can we make our presentation better? How can we be more in depth in looking at our cases? We happen to specialize in personal injury work. 80% of our personal injury work is car wrecks. The other 20 would be premises liability, slip and falls, things like that, and a small percentage of medical malpractice. The car wrecks, people think, oh, okay, there was a wreck and somebody's at fault, but we have to prove who's at fault and why they're at fault and what they did wrong. We also have to prove the severity of an injury, okay? You can't just say, well, I'm injured and then I get money, And the process is, here's where this comes full circle. And here's what we're seeing, and I'm going to share this. In wreck cases, to do them right, you have to really prove the severity of an injury and who's at fault for it. You have to spend money, okay? You have to do what we're doing to really do it right. So many attorneys don't do it right that insurance companies have gotten away with paying pennies on the dollar of what these cases are really worth. We are seeing a drastic movement, a drastic one, with insurance companies who are trying to pay money within a day or two of a wreck, and they're tying it to the vehicle. I know you and I've had this talk, but I think it's very important for our listeners. It's going to be the way that we are going to begin our marketing. It's going to get back to one of the messages that unfortunately we have to spend our time and revenue to educate people. And it's this: you have no idea how bad you're hurt within 48 hours after a wreck.
No, you don't.
You don't. You
not at
absolutely all. Do not. It's impossible to know that.
Right.
However, what's the worst investment that you can make as far as a necessity that we all have to have? It's a car. It's the worst investment. You pay for it, and literally it depreciates every single day it sits in your driveway. Right. It goes down in value, and not only does it go down in value, it goes down in value by a significant percent. Okay?
Right.
And so what happens is you've got this car, and all of a sudden it's involved in a wreck. You get a check for that car, and it's not enough to pay off your loan, or if it is enough to pay off your loan, you have very little left over to put toward a new car and a new payment. And so what they've learned is that they'll go to the people and kind of lowball them on the property damage.
Right.
They'll say, "Oh, well, here's $4,600 for your car," and the person's sitting there thinking, "Gosh, I have a $3,000 loan, so I'm only going to have $1,600 to put down on a new one, and now my payment's going to be out astronomical."
Right.
So what they do is they say, "But I know you said you were hurt, and we want to get that wrapped up to it. We can get you a car." And here is $1,500 on top of it. And bingo, man, that person takes that other $1,500 because they can take that $1,500 and put it with $1,600 and have a $3,100 down payment on a car. And now they're cooking with Crisco, right? I mean, they think, oh, wow. Well, the problem is 2 months later, they're still waking up with sciatic pain that's going down to their foot from their hip, because they didn't really get the treatment they needed. And lo and behold, there is pressure from a disc on a nerve that's because of this wreck. But they've already settled it for $1,500, a case that could be worth $30, $40, $50, $60, even $100,000.
Right.
They got $1,500 for. And insurance companies are savvy. They don't really care about you. I just need to break that to the public. They do not care. They want to open that claim and close that claim as fast as possible for as little amount of money as possible.
Right.
An attorney who invests and does it right would be a strong prohibitive factor to insurance companies if we had more cases. The problem is that getting those cases is becoming more and more difficult because the insurance companies getting their hands on people, convincing them to take these early lowball offers. And it's happening just this week. In fact, I'm meeting with the people today. I'm meeting with somebody today that Geico, I will call them out. It's Geico Insurance. It's the little green gecko that they try to make you think is like super cute, right?
Cute
on TV, right?
Funny, yeah.
Geico, within 36 hours of a wreck, offered my lady $600, and when she's like, I have no idea how
That's
bad.
the cost of an emergency room ibuprofen.
Right. She was like, I have no idea how bad I'm hurt. I'm just now getting referred to my primary care physician for further workup because I am not feeling well. And they're like, I'll tell you what. Ready? They went from $600 to $800. We'll give you $800. $800. Now, mark my word, and I can't guarantee anything, but I have a strong suspicion that I will get 10 to 20 times that out of this case.
Yeah.
And so they're, even after taking an attorney fee, this person is going to make far more money for the injuries because we'll handle the case right. We will send the message to the insurance company. We are ready to try this case. Look at our video. We'll be out at the scene of this wreck within 48 to, we'll be out there, and we will make the case worth what it deserves. And that is what we mean when we say we specialize in personal injury cases. That's what we do in every case. And the problem is we are seeing fewer and fewer people make it to us because of that ploy. And it's obvious business decision on behalf of the insurance company.
What I think is really funny, and we've talked about both of these things on different podcasts, one of which several times, and that's the stigma that comes with getting an attorney, right, to help you through the situation. And what I don't get is how many movies and TV shows and talk shows and podcasts and just personal experiences from friends and family, people we know, and horror stories we hear. It's not like it's a secret that insurance companies are in it for the business, right? I mean, how many stories have you heard? I spent my whole life paying the premiums, and then I finally need them, and they don't want to pay me what the situation is worth.
Right.
But for some reason, there's this stigma that comes with hiring an attorney to help you get the money that you deserve. Why is that such a bad thing? And I know it's people are afraid that other people on the outside are going to think you're trying to like milk the system or something, but that's the thing. In some ways you kind of have to, because if you don't, they're not going to give you what you're worth. And that's what led me to even working here, if you remember.
Right.
I bought that Corolla. It was a Toyota Corolla. It was only like 2 years old, or no, it was like 3 years old, but I bought it for like $12,500, right? I only had it for a little over a year. It got totaled. Luckily I had gap insurance and all that, but here's the problem. The gap insurance didn't cover all of the money that I owed on the car. So I was out a car, and then I was out an additional amount of money plus medical bills. And when they called, they called next day. They called the next day and wanted to give me $2,500. And I'm sitting there going, wait a second. I still owed around 10 on the car probably. And I'm like, so wait a minute. I'm out $10,000 and a vehicle, and I'm still going to owe an additional like $1,800 because the gap insurance doesn't cover everything, and medical. And the best I'm going to get out of insurance, which I've been paying for, is $2,500. That doesn't cover anything. And then going back to what you said a few minutes ago, and I've talked about this before, I had an injury that was essentially dormant because I knew I had hit my elbow really hard on the door when I got sandwiched between the vehicles, but I didn't realize that it could cause a problem later on. And what ended up happening is my ulnar nerve popped out of place. And now I have this thing where I'll go to like put my elbow down on a table, and because my ulnar nerve will like come out, I like hit my elbow. And that's the nerve that goes up into your ring and pinky finger. So it's like it shoots that electricity up through my arm. The only way I can fix that is either just deal with it or have surgery.
Neither one of which you've been compensated for.
And here's the thing. That was before I started working here. So I had that stigma where I was like, I just want to get this done and over with and behind me. So even though I worked with another attorney's office, and this is nothing necessarily against them, because I was pushing them to like, let's just get this over with. Let's just get this over with. And finally they were like, okay. And we ended up, settling for an amount of money and I was able to pay the gap insurance, and I was able to pay the basic medical bills, but it left me with nothing further. And then by the time I realized that there was an additional problem,
too late.
Yeah.
Now I will chime in and say that one of the primary, you were talking about why is there this stigma about hiring a lawyer,
right?
And we've discussed this in a couple of times, either on the podcast or off the podcast. The reason is because there's bad actors as attorneys. That's the reason, because a few bad lawyers, or the way they advertise or the way they go about their business, reflects poorly upon the whole profession. I'll give you an example. We parked that car out front when we first got it. A realtor here she is a mortgage, she's a lender, but she works with she was downstairs, and Landon said, hey, did you see the car out there? And she was like, yeah. And she goes, yeah, she was kind of, I was like, and
like flipping about it?
As I walked away, she was like, well, nothing screams ambulance chaser louder than a car like that. And so I'm sitting there thinking, the word ambulance chaser, where does that come from? And why do people, and it's because of the people that put billboards all over town and talk about free unless we win, and we'll come see you, blah, 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 and the whole punitive damages, money, and they open up the trunk and money pops out of the wrecked car and all this stuff. Those people who saturate the market with that message make hiring a lawyer a stigma. I'm going to be very clear. Foreman Watson Holtree is not a Morgan & Morgan. We are not a heavy hitter hammer guy. That's not us. We are attorneys. We love our profession. We respect the law. We do not trust insurance companies. We will do our best for every person that hires us to find what they're entitled to, pursue what they're entitled to, and obtain what they're entitled to. And this is the message that's going to be coming back out of this office. We have for a long time just, we are dedicated to people. We're committed to justice, that commitment to justice. But in personal injury, what does it look like? And that's where we're headed. And it's important. And I am excited. I think our car and our advertisement, I think it's classy. It looks good. And the thing is we back it up. We don't just have a car driving around town. We are at scenes of wrecks. We are investigating. We did spend considerable money for a drone. We did spend considerable money for high definition video cameras. We did spend a lot of money for your editing system. We invested in our clients by doing these things.
Right.
And that's why we can say without any hesitation, without any reservation, we're not ambulance chasers. We are people that represent people, and we do it well.
That car doesn't scream ambulance chaser to me whatsoever.
No, it's just, I don't get me started on it. But that's the connection.
You're wrong, lady.
That's where the synapse is. That's where it is, though.
Right.
Because of people the people like, the Beckers and all that stuff. And you know that what? Some of those firms have good lawyers in them. I'm not saying they don't, but I'm saying the message that they spew out, right, has really, really made it hard for the public to discern whether there's a genuine need for lawyers.
Well, I think the other big problem too, and social media shows us this all the time, and we've even talked about this. It was a few episodes back where I made the comment that you have to do the research for yourself and stop taking things at face value. And that's like one of the problems on social media, right? Someone will read a headline and be like, get outraged by it, not read the article, and then share it and be like, look at this.
Right.
And the thing is that if they took 2 seconds to see what the website was, it's like joeschmo.org.
Right.
And
yeah, absolutely.
Really, that's your source? You didn't take you didn't take 20 seconds to at least click on the link to see that what's outraging you is even a legit thing. And this goes into the whole and I actually talked with this about Kenny last night, and that is, I thought for the longest time that if I got stung by a jellyfish on the beach, I was going to have someone urinate on my leg because I thought the ammonia made it better. When in reality, all I would be doing is just having someone take a piss on me.
Right.
When all I really needed to do was go back to the hotel room and put warm water on it.
Right.
But because something was just ingrained in society and I took it at face value, I was like, oh, there's ammonia in urine, and that's what helps a jellyfish sting. That sounds scientific enough. It must be true.
Right.
But I never once took 30 seconds to research it.
If it was right.
And I went almost 40 years. Yes, people, by the time this podcast comes out, I will have turned 40. But
Happy birthday.
Thank you. But it's like, I went almost 40 years thinking that I would have to have a stranger pee on me just to make my jellyfish sting better. And that is not what I would need to make it better. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, do you want someone to pee on you for nothing? Or do you want to know the truth? Take 5 minutes and look us up. Right. Look someone up.
Look what we do.
Do a little bit of research
Ask.
to find out what's really going on. Stop sharing memes that have something that you don't really know anything about because you don't want to take the time because you're too busy to take 20 seconds or 30 seconds or 5 minutes to sit there and really do the research. Like, do the research and figure it out for yourself.
So a great question to ask an insurance representative is, well, if I go see a lawyer, what are they going to tell me? And just to see what the insurance company, they're going to tell you this, 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 and this. And they said, well, I'm going to take that chance. And then come see us and see if that's really what you hear. Because I guarantee you that what they're doing is misrepresenting the role that we play in cases. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, here's the thing. We've already created through our video production department, our media arts. We produced 7 or 8 wonderful 15-second videos that one of them's already hit social media.
Has it?
Yeah,
cool.
It did. More of them are going to come up just to basically say, when you're injured, don't trust the insurance company. That's as simple as I can make it.
Right.
Take at least one opportunity to speak to a highly qualified personal injury lawyer, somebody that specializes and does it with conviction. Foreman, Watson, Holtry, FWHlegal.com. That's us. All right?
Yep.
That's not the end of the podcast.
I didn't know if that. I couldn't tell.
But it could be.
It very well could be. We're about there, I'd say.
All right. Well, this has been Law Lite, brought to you by Foreman, Watson, Holtry. Happy birthday to PJ. Check us out on all different platforms of social media. FWHlegal.com is our website. And until next time, thanks for listening.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of 2 mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!